Managerial to Stokes, who's onside. 1-0.
Here's Sims. It's a good serve this from Southampton. They could finish the job here. It's Shane Long, and he has done it. Just a minute to play. That's stoppage time. Here's Letizia. Oh, better to say farewell than one of the finest players ever to wear the red and white.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Saints FC podcast. Now, Tom Parker has ditched us for Christmas drinks with his team, which means that for this episode 52, I have William Porteous Blythe sat opposite me, making rude gestures for all of the people watching on YouTube.
I forgot about that. Oh, well.
Yeah, William, good to have you back. How are
Thanks,
you?
mate. Yeah, I'm good. If I had a Christmas do myself, I think it would involve my two dogs that sometimes garden with me, and that's about it. Yeah. So, but, you know, Tom, I hope you're having a great time.
Yeah, and do you think there'll be a little bit of a spring in Tom's step today, considering the news? I mean, I don't know, how long do we beat around the bush here? Because, like, Saints FC podcast, it's Monday the 3rd of December as we're recording this.
Yeah.
And this morning, we heard the news that Mark Hughes has been sacked. Do we want to get straight into Mark Hughes being sacked, or do we want to cover Saints versus Man United and Saints versus Leicester?
Well, I think we should probably just be pragmatic about this and just talk about the football, the soccer ball, and then move into the obviously the situation that led to his dismissal.
Yeah, I suppose at this point as well, it's maybe worth pointing out to the listeners that if you can survive the whole length of the podcast, which according to my statistics, I think about 84.7% of you do. So
that's good.
Much. Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it?
Well done, you guys.
We're going to have Raphael Honigstein on at the end of the podcast to give us his opinion on the current front runner with the bookies at the moment, which is Ralp Hasenhuttl. Yeah, how's my pronunciation?
You just completely bottled it then, didn't you?
Go on, your turn.
Hasenhuttl.
Okay. I'm just going to call him Hasenhuttl for the rest of it, and then we'll get
Austrian.
We'll get Raphael Honigstein's opinion on that. So, although he's not actually German himself, he spent a lot of time in Germany. So hopefully Raphael will be all over that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, should we start with a 0-0 against Leicester? Let's try and rattle through this quite quickly.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I watched the second half of that match. I didn't even know that it was available to watch on Saints Media Player. So second half was good.
Yeah,
I thought we were okay. I mean, I know that there were there was a lot of negativity around that match, but we never wanted to win it anyway.
No,
you know, who wanted to go up against Man City again?
No way.
With a depleted squad, and I thought we performed really well. And I think. I know we'll leave the Man United game for just a second, but I think that performance then did carry on into the Man United game because of you had Valerie and Obafemi put in good shifts, I think. So what did you think?
Yeah, I thought so as well. So, I mean, obviously Obafemi missed an absolute sitter in the second half, and it looked like nailed on that he was going to get his first team Saints goal at that point. And that did worry me a little bit because obviously the last thing we need is another striker that can't score goals.
Yeah.
But the good thing about Obafemi, and I think this is the reason why Mark Hughes stuck with him for Saturday's game against Manchester United, is when he's on the pitch, he gets chances. And when Charlie Austin is on the pitch, he doesn't get chances.
Yeah.
And I saw like a few comments about people saying, well, Charlie Austin would have absolutely buried that. The thing is, Charlie Austin wouldn't have been there. You'd have needed another two players to have been on the pitch just to carry Charlie Austin and actually deliver him to the 6-yard box at the time.
But Obafemi does have that athleticism as well, which Charlie Austin wouldn't... Okay, he wouldn't have been in that position, but also if he had been, he probably would have broken his spine trying to perform that sort of, that pass into the back of the net that Obafemi tried to do. So,
yeah. And then obviously Valerie... was great to see him in the side as well.
Yeah. How long before everyone starts singing "Why Don't You Come On Over, Valerie" by the Zootons?
Yeah. Well, we've had a couple of discussions because obviously there's the Valerie Amy Winehouse song as well.
Yeah.
So we're not sure which way this is going to go.
The Zootons, obviously.
Yeah. Well, anyway, listeners, we love hearing your songs. I love getting Tom Parker to try and sing them. Although he'll probably be a bit disappointed that this one probably won't be to a Boney M tune. But get your favourite Valerie song on over. The email address is saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on the 0-0 against Leicester.
No.
We have another penalty shootout. Obviously, we won the last one at Everton.
Amazing penalties.
Yeah, I mean 5 each from both sides. It's just unheard of.
Yeah, and they were phenomenal penalties. And then I've forgotten who screwed it up for us.
It was Gabby, wasn't it?
Gabby, but his was the only one that was appalling.
Yeah.
So that literally the keeper, all he had to do was literally blow at it and it fell away. But I mean, yeah, but who cares? Who cares? We were never. I've never watched a penalty shootout where I've never wanted to win before.
Yeah.
So who cares? Unless of course you did want us to win for the sake of I don't know what prosperity. But jeez Louise.
I mean, nobody really wants to go away to Manchester City and play against them in the pomp that they're in at the moment.
God,
so, probably swerved a bit there. And actually, going out on penalties is a way. After quite a good performance, after having a goal disallowed, after having lots of chances, there's probably the right sort of boost that they needed before going back to St Mary's and hosting Manchester United. Yeah,
just save a bit of face and just roll on. I think Hughes probably would have thought that as well.
So, obviously, game against Manchester United, I do not like Manchester United. That comes from being a football fan in the 90s. I have thoroughly enjoyed every time that we've beaten Manchester United. My favourite one probably being the 6-3 with Eggleston's hat-trick, although one of the goals credited now to G-Nev. Matthew Le Tissier's sublime chip over Schmeichel. Just absolutely beautiful. Right? And the fact that one followed the 3-1
I like
Grey Kits one.
The 3-1 Grey Kits was probably my favourite actually as well. Like that was just it was a rollover, wasn't it? It was wonderful. But yeah, no, it's I think the first game I ever went to see at St Mary's was Man United, and I can't remember. Beattie scored, I presume. I can't remember.
Was that the last time we beat them at home? Was that 2003? I think.
Yeah, it was. It was getting on for decades ago. Yeah. So, but that would be my earliest memory. And then obviously sitting in the chapel end when we first came up against and we first met United, and I think they beat us 3-2. I can't. But yeah, I mean all those memories. Obviously, then when we got relegated, Van Nistelrooy scored on the last day. And Pompey were passing it around to the other team, wherever it was. But it's always. Unlike you, I don't really I don't mind about Man United, but Saturday's game. What it does seem to me though, that if we follow Mourinho around, because
but before we go on Saturday's game, you've just reminded me of a great anecdote from my dad on why he really doesn't like Mark Hughes.
Okay.
So the day we got relegated against Manchester United, Roy Keane came out onto the pitch afterwards and started giving the thumbs down to the Saints fans.
Oh my God.
Which is just like such a horrible thing to do.
What a douchebag.
But my dad, even though like Mark Hughes wasn't playing for Manchester United at this point and hadn't played for him for years and years, in my dad's head, that was Mark Hughes. So when we appointed Mark Hughes in the first place, he's just like, I've never liked that man. The fact that he came out onto St Mary's and gave us a thumbs down, I'm like, Dad, that was Roy Keane. It was nothing to do with Mark Hughes.
You're not changing my mind on this.
And and he still brought it up a couple of times since.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. I haven't caught up with my dad today, but he's probably absolutely delighted that Mark Hughes is gone, and good riddance to the man who was giving us the thumbs down on the day we got relegated from the Premier League.
Dad, you got the wrong guy. It's time to just wise up to the fact. But maybe he was on the pitch mentally.
Whoever let facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, well, no, let's not go down that road because that's going to lead me to my political podcast. We don't talk about that. Yeah. But my point was we have a really good habit of finding Mourinho at his weakest. We went to Stamford Bridge and beat them 3-1. And Pella scored that beautiful goal. And I genuinely thought when we got that second goal against United on Saturday, we found his weak spot. Because, I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but my God, that first 20 minutes, Man United were horrific.
But almost any other Saints team would have seen that through.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God. 3 seasons ago, we would have destroyed them. It would have been a cricket squad. It would have been Sunderland all over again.
Imagine doing that to Manchester United.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. There's only one team that's put 8 past United, isn't it?
Really?
No, hang on. I'm thinking that Man United put 8 past Arsenal. I can never remember which.
Yeah, I think it was maybe that one.
Yeah, damn it. But yeah.
Well, let's get into the game then, because I
Okay.
think probably nobody was expecting that much. I had kind of dragged out a statistic which I found, something which was mentioned by Duncan Alexander, friend of the podcast. Saints had the 3rd most shots at goal in the Premier League this season. Also 11th highest for XG. And if we'd actually scored the chances that we'd created for ourselves, we would, in fact, be over 6 points better off.
Yeah. But John, I know you posted that on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle again?
At Saints FC Podcast.
There we go. And I was like, what's 6 points to us anyway? Like, seriously, 6 points would only be for me. Like, it's not that much, like 14th. And even if that would just be prolonging the agony. I'm just happy for us to be minus 6 points. I'm happy for us to be 18th because it means that we can get rid of the sack of plop that is Mark Hughes. And I even saying that, I feel bad because I do feel like we were just about turning the Titanic a little bit there. I know we managed to completely throw it away, but 6 points, XG and all that nonsense, at least we're top of one league.
Yeah, well, so I mean, Champions League positioning for shots, not Champions League positioning for goal conversions. So the amount of
goals anyway.
The amount of goals Southampton have scored this season. I mean, we're not in as bad a position as we were, but before the Manchester United game, we'd scored 10 goals in the Premier League from
10
13 games.
The
majority of those by Danny Ings, who was obviously injured. So you wouldn't necessarily expect Saints to then be coming along and putting 2 goals away in 20 minutes. But it was beautiful play. I mean, I especially enjoyed the build-up play to the Armstrong goal. Fantastic stuff.
And Obafemi assist was sublime.
Yeah.
It was really mature.
I mean, really, though, I think we've got to give a shout-out to Marcus Rashford for giving the ball away in the first instance.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Marcus. Thank you.
Then Nathan Redmond causing loads and loads of havoc, again, running at defenders.
Yeah.
Finding Obafemi, who was surrounded by about 7 Manchester United players.
I know, yeah.
And then for him to just kind of be able to hold the ball up. He's a little stocky lad. He's strong despite being short. I
can't believe he's 18.
And the fact that he could have me on toast in a fight. I'm sure of it. And then to spot Armstrong, who'd managed to make a little bit of space. And then Armstrong's finish, smashing it in the far post against David De Gea as well, who normally stops everything.
But when that goes in, the Armstrong hit shot, you're thinking not only, that's how you score.
Yeah.
But you're thinking, my God, that's professional. Like, that is quality. That's a player that we should have spent 15 million quid on. Okay, obviously it looks like we've got a bit of a bargain. But you look back on, the fools that we have bought, like Elianusi and what have you.
Buffal,
what are we doing? Yeah. And you've got a little Scottish guy comes down and goes, "Hey lads, this is how you do it," just finding the back of the net like that, and you're like,
it's like what Stuart Armstrong sounds.
That is exactly how Stuart Armstrong sounds. Graham Souness, move aside. And he makes it look so damn easy. Well, he's made it look bloody easy against Fulham as well. It's like that bursting into the box, just go for it. And Hughes has to be commended for that. No one else is saying, like, I'm not saying that Armstrong has said, screw you, Hughes, screw you, Hughes, I'm doing what I want. I'm joking. Don't worry, that's never happening again. I'm doing what I want. No, Hughes has said, look, go and do this. Have a bit of a license to do these things. And it's happened twice in 2 games. So he does deserve a bit of credit there.
Yeah. And I think kind of whatever happens going forward now, whoever we have in place, Kelvin Davis, he's in charge for the Spurs game.
Yeah.
Stuart Armstrong's probably going to be first name on the team sheet. I'm pretty sure Obafemi is going to be on the team sheet as well.
Well, he's done his hamstring
from his injury. Yeah. So I think if he could have both those players available, they'd be pretty high up.
But with Valerie as well, and Redmond finally looks like, oh my God, I've got similar-minded people around me here. Obafemi, my God, he's like 18 or what have you, young lad. And Valerie, but these guys want the ball. They want to do stuff with it. They want to progress.
But rather than Charlie Austin kind of saunter around the pitch pointing.
I think Austin has to go with Hughes. I mean, obviously you can't go with Hughes, but the transfer.
Well, Charlie Austin, what he needs to do is speak to Nathan Redmond and find out about this fitness training camp and make sure that he is on it.
Yeah, but that involves a lot of effort, and he's a fat millionaire now, so who gives, right? And it's heart and mind. It's like it's purpose, and we're chock full of players that have seen Southampton for years and years as this vehicle to get to another point, to a higher point. And I'm not too sure whether Austin thought that or not, because he's the kind of player that you think, I think he's just after the paycheck, as opposed to Redmond, who I'm happy for him to move on to, obviously, and he's never going to move on to a City or an Arsenal perhaps, but he would be looking at us going, oh, Europa League football, yes please, So he's still trying. You can see in post-match interviews. He really wants it, you know.
As well, at this point, I've heard a lot of kind of commentary from the old footballing media about how Manchester United went into the game with only one recognised centre-back and blah, 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 making loads of excuses for Manchester United because they're mainly Manchester United fans or Liverpool fans, it seems.
Oh, mate, you sound like such a conspiracy theorist.
But can we also point out to all of those people defending Manchester United's selection of defenders and the injuries that we had an 18-year-old making his Premier League debut.
Yeah, fair point.
Nathan Redmond, who hasn't scored for, I don't know, about a century, as our two forwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Stuart Armstrong, who's bought from Celtic for less than £10 million.
Yeah.
So I don't care, Manchester United, if you don't have as many recognised centre-backs as you normally want to. Yeah. We came at that brave with an 18-year-old, and Hughes actually changed things up. And
well, no, absolutely. And I think the spirit of the match, I think we were talking about this pre-pod, was reminiscent of a Southampton that came up because we were naive. Yes, we were very naive on Saturday, but the spirit was there because you had three players that really wanted to do something, maybe four. And I probably mean Højbjerg, Redmond, Valerie and Obafemi.
I thought Lamina had a fantastic game
obviously,
as well.
I'd say probably man of the match, to be fair. Yeah. So I don't know how the hell I'm missing him out because I think he does turn in performance. They kind of, fluctuate a bit. But it was reminiscent of a team of slightly insurgent, like a surgent form there. But I don't know because obviously we threw it away.
Yeah. I think before we get to the throwing it away, we've got to talk about that free kick because that was absolutely sensational, wasn't it?
I think it's one of the most beautiful free kicks, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Saints fan, but you look at that time and time again. You know that little blue box that comes up in the corner, the top right-hand corner on an analysis. He put that in the absolute epicenter.
I don't think from the position that he was in, you could take a better free kick than that.
No.
Sure, there are some which are a little bit more spectacular. Obviously, someone flicking the ball up to Matt Letizia, him chipping it up and then lobbing the keeper, is always going to look more stylish than that. But in terms of actual technique, Cedric hit his 1 in 100 free kick there, the perfect one. And we've given Cedric a lot of stick for his defensive frailties. It was his 100th Premier League appearance on Saturday.
Oh my God!
And that was his first Premier League goal. And what a way to do it.
I mean, that would it would perhaps suggest that he has been training it quite hard on it, but also because you don't just come out with that technique.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That is a real tried and tested technique, which probably hasn't been afforded to because of the people around him previously, sort of like Buffal and Redmond and what have you. So now he's got that opportunity. He's like, hey guys, we've got another string to our bow here. And I'm really happy to see that. Obviously, I know this sounds really bad. I'll just be really honest. I didn't celebrate that goal, and I didn't celebrate the Armstrong goal because I knew what was going to happen. And I'm not saying that, with hindsight.
Could we take the mickey of McTominay and the Man United wall jumping before we move on?
Or Luke Shaw? What the hell was Luke Shaw up to, kneeling behind the United wall?
Was that Luke Shaw? I thought that was McTominay.
No, that was Luke Shaw peering in between the boxer shorts of like the Man United wall, like some little rodent. It was hysterical.
Well, so obviously that was because they're expecting that was to rule out any chance that he could hit it underneath the wall.
Right.
And then you have like Matic, who's like 6'6", whatever, loads of big guys in that wall.
Yeah.
And the fact that Cedric manages to get it up over a jumping wall and then down into that top corner and curling away from David De Gea, hit hard enough.
Yeah.
Just sensational.
It's $1 million goal. It's the stuff that Ronaldo scores on a daily basis, but obviously that'll go unnoticed. Well, he's the same teammate, isn't he, as Ronaldo? But I just think where we were then And I was still not celebrating that goal.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we are going to screw this up. I just don't know how by how many goals and what have you. I still watch that back on Match Today, still in awe, and I think we will do. I think that will go down through the years as one of those great free kicks.
Yeah,
you know,
it was really great. The inevitable was going to happen there eventually. Marcus Rashford,
he's quite a physical little chap actually. Quite a naughty little boy as well.
He's good though, isn't he?
He's got some
I mean,
got some
how
talent.
old is he? Is he like 19, 20 years?
No. He's 13 and a half. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, no, 13. December 7th is his 14th
Yeah.
birthday. So yeah. It's a fact.
You know, he might be 14 by the time some people are tuning into this episode.
Yeah. In which case, happy birthday, Marcus.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, yeah.
But he had a fantastic 6 minutes following that, didn't he? And then Southampton's defensive frailties, their mental frailties, Cedric's defensive frailties, Vestergaard's.
Mike Vestergaard's particularly. And you want to believe in Vestergaard because he did have a run out at Leicester. And I thought we acquitted ourselves reasonably well, as I have said.
But, I mean, to be outpaced by a Lukaku who... I mean, he looks like he's put on about
4 stone.
Yeah,
he's probably borrowed a couple of stone from Charlie Austin.
But let's not exaggerate. I think he is at least 2 stone bigger than he was this time last year. Genuinely, I think he's really bulked up.
Okay,
and I don't know whether that's intentional or not. And like Mourinho wants someone who's like really, really powerful, huge, but. He does look, he looks more kind of going towards heavyweight boxer than he does like Premier League forward.
But that said...
But also, how does that person outpace someone who wants to be in the centre of defence in the Premier League side?
Well, you're right. It was a wonderful strike, but it doesn't really... Yes, it was a wonderful strike because he was afforded the time. He still had the technique. It was a hell of a shot. But Vestergaard... Oh my God! All at sea, just absolutely all at sea. And if you can't mark the one striker coming in for United, then you're screwed. And especially if it's a Lukaku who likes to rattle them in against us.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't scored for something like 12 games before that, but I think we all knew that he would score at some point.
Of course,
we love helping players break their duck, don't we?
Generous bunch of chaps.
And obviously he was never going to miss that there. He put it away brilliantly. And then I suppose we got the second goal to talk about as well, which was a nice little cheeky finish from Herrera. But really we should have cut it out before it got to Herrera.
Herrera Rocher, yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, it's a really weird thing. Every time I hear his name, I have to say Herrera Rocher. And I hope you, Saints fans, will follow suit. I just think that I think you're probably better placed to talk about this because I had zoned out. I knew they were going to equalise, possibly get 3 or 4 goals, and I zoned out. I didn't turn off. I just kept watching. I watched, and this is going to happen. It was a beautiful deft touch from Herrera. Don't get me wrong, but it was literally like, oh, do you want to? Oh, hang on, it's time. It's time you equalise in it, United. You can do that now if you like. We'll just stop doing what we're doing. There you go.
Yeah.
Your textbook.
I suppose the thing with Saints at the moment is we're so nervous, especially at home. And, you go 1-0 up and you're like, okay, great. We know they're going to get back into it, and this gives us a little bit of a buffer for when that happens later in the game.
Yeah.
We get 2 goals up in 20 minutes, right? And any normal football team at this point is thinking, yeah, come on. Yeah. We're going to win this. We're going to romp home. We're going to get 3. We're going to get 4. And they continue to put the pressure on and have Manchester United on the ropes. It's really finished the job. Not Saints. No. At this point, Saints are just like, oh God, this means that when we give up this lead, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, but John, if you want to get rid of your manager, do you want to perform for him just enough to stay in the good books of the manager coming in, or do you just want to throw it away so you get rid of the guy? My point is that they I'm not saying that they deliberately threw it away, but if you're in the mindset of a Southampton player, you don't give a crap anyway.
I don't know. I think the players played actually with a lot of heart.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
Okay.
Also, I think the fact that Hughes has been sacked today on the Monday following that weekend tells you that the decision had already been made before Saturday. Because actually, if you were just basing it on a very kind of fickle idea of the last game wasn't good enough, so therefore we're going to get rid, actually the game against Manchester United was probably the best performance we've seen from Southampton this season.
Well, absolutely. That's why I was so perplexed by it, because you get those 2 goals, much like Newcastle did against United, and you're thinking, come on, Newcastle, and then I don't know Newcastle left from whatever, but other than seeing them play against us, and they were appalling, and we still only got 0-0 out of that. But United, they're going to come back. They've got that form this season. I don't know where under a Mourinho side that's coming from, And I think at the end of the day, we had a bloody good go at them, and that was commendable. But when they equalised it, prior to equalising, we just literally took our eyes, hearts, souls, everything off the ball, everything that we trained for, and I that's what leads me to be a little bit, sad for Hughes, because I do think that he got them playing. You can't argue against that. They were playing. They didn't roll over.
So, I mean, do we think at this point then that whoever the new manager that comes in, and we'll get onto the top speculation a little bit later on. Yeah. Do we think that they're actually going to be picking up a Saints team that have turned the corner a little bit, that have shown a little bit?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's all going to be about confidence. I mean, I know we're kind of like skipping over the entire second half, but there really wasn't much talking points.
No, I think the Saints were very, very much the mentality of, we cannot afford to throw shit away again. Yeah. Pardon my language. We cannot afford to do that again. Yeah. And United don't want to get embarrassed, either. And I don't know, Mourinho's very good at shutting up shop anyway, so I think it was just right, well, we're both happy with the point here, fine, see you later sort of thing.
It was a bit of a
but the second half, it was a non-entity, particularly because I think Obafemi came off as well, and what have you. But Gabby, whenever he comes on, I think Gabby's going to have to move on, isn't he, as a player? I just don't think he's got anything going for him anymore. I think he's done. I know that's come out of left field, but just watching him come on, and he just didn't offer a thing.
So, really?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's done. I mean, he kept us up for that goal, but how many goals he got for Southampton? And not that it's about goals essentially, because our strikers don't get goals. But
he had that game the other day on the right wing where he actually looked quite good, quite creative.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't get the feeling that Gabby's going to suddenly hit this purple patch. And I think, sadly, I think it will just be a series of purple patches over like 2 or 3 seasons. We need someone who's going to be contributing game in, game out, We can't afford to prop these guys up. Gabby's just another player that we prop up.
So
sorry.
Okay, well, there we go. So we've seen the end of Mark Hughes' reign as Southampton manager, and Williams foreseen the end of Manolo Gabbiadini's reign as a Saints player.
Before we move on too quickly, I do want to just say, in defence of Mark Hughes, I was, this time last year, we would have said bring him in. Yeah, I think we would have said, okay, fine, give me a list of managers that are attainable to we could have. We would have said Hughes is fine, and he came in, he kept us up, and we were sat there in the pub down in where it was in London Bridge. And we were plastered by the end of it, but we were loving, give him a contract. Tom, we all know Tom, and how much I was one as well. Let's get him in. So we've got to acknowledge the fact that we all wanted Hughes. So
yeah, I mean, he certainly wouldn't have been my first choice, but I felt after with the positivity of having stayed up, I thought with a bit of momentum, Saints were playing better. I actually still think Saints have played better under Hughes than they did under Pellegrino, just with worse results, which is pretty astonishing. That may be because I'm much more of a fan of attacking football than I am of defensive football. Maybe fans of defensive football will be watching Pellegrino and saying, well, actually that was beautiful, the way how he stopped our players attacking so that they'd all be robustly in position for the next time.
I'm going to shoot myself. You carry on talking about Pellegrino for much longer. Oh my God.
At least some of the football under Hughes was actually enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have all the frailties, but the next guy comes in. He's got to sort out the mental weakness more than anything else. He's got to drill the defenders to get them to be able to actually defend to Premier League level.
No, absolutely. I mean, Tom was saying that last week. We've got a bunch of international players. Yeah, they're not all imbeciles. there's something going on there in the mentality of Southampton, whether it was Les Reed, Ralph Cougar, blah, blah, blah. From the top down, we will never know. We'll never be privy to that. Maybe in like 10, 15 years' time, But at the moment, I would say I've lost my train of thought, but never mind. I'm sure it was really educational and pirate-based. But no, that was it. It was managers going forward.
Yeah.
But I think whoever does come in he's got to recognise that it is. I think it's a big fat arm around the shoulder time. It's, look, guys, yes, you've been led astray, but I'm the man to bring you back.
Okay, and I think we should get straight onto the managerial speculation, because this is what everyone wants to talk about. So, yesterday being Sunday evening, for those of you that are listening to this tomorrow, that's confusing. Breaking the time and space continuum here. But yesterday, all of the rumours were Sanchez Flores was coming in. It was basically a done deal. The odds on the bookies just totally disappeared. There were people who are in the nose, who were suggesting that it was definitely going to be Flores. Yeah. And then this morning, had a little chat with my in the know source, I suppose. Yeah. And the whole interest had shifted. Yeah. And it was Ralp Hasenhuttl. I just don't know. I'm going to need to get
Hasenhuttl's fine, man.
Hasenhuttl.
Yeah.
I actually don't. Oh, this is just
Hey, John.
We'll get it right.
Ich liebe dich. Yeah. Ich liebe dich.
I'm looking forward to getting Tom Parker on the podcast, who's bound to pronounce his name worse than me.
Do you think? I don't know, man. It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Anyway, if you're Austrian or German, I'll tell you what. I'll ask Raphael Honigstein.
Do it.
As well.
Yeah.
He should know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But say he's the front runner at the moment, and the odds have literally flattened out. I mean, the way the betting has gone, either it looks like everyone has who read the Jeremy Wilson article and then put their money on him, and therefore the bookies have just flattened the odds. Or there's a lot of people with insider knowledge who think it's him. But funny enough, following the Telegraph article this morning put out by Jeremy Wilson, we've since seen the BBC reporting it. We've seen all of the major, more, I suppose, credible news agencies putting that news
not just
out.
some random bloggers, because we did have Paulo Celsa, didn't we, for a little while?
Celsa.
And to be fair, I was quite excited about that prospect as well. But this guy is literally just come on my radar. I'm on the transfermarket.com website, day in, day out, looking for replacements for Mark Hughes, because I don't believe that Ralph Cougar can do it himself. Because Kruger even. Yeah. And this guy I've never even come across this guy before. But that's my ignorance. That's my total
ignorance.
German
football fan.
Yeah, only this season. That's my get out. And then obviously I start slacking myself about, because I'm like, how have I not noticed this guy? He's got a wonderful track record. I mean, he did so well with Leipzig, got them into the second position, Champions League spot. He's got Ingolstadt up before from Bundesliga 2 into the Bundesliga. He knows what he's doing, and I mean, I know if you want to talk a little bit about his style and tactics or whatever, but I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited as well. I think we'll go into some tactics with Honigstein later. Hopefully he can give us a bit of a lowdown here, but just on the pure statistical basis, so in his first managerial position with Unterhaching, which I think is an Austrian side, his win ratio after 88 games was 45%.
Yeah, not bad.
With Arlen, which was from 2011 to 2013, after 93 games, his win ratio was 38.71%.
Getting towards Hughes level.
No, Hughes is way below that.
But he's getting that way.
Oh, what kind of heading down?
Yeah, heading down.
Well, no, actually,
I'm just joking.
38% is still.
That's
still
okay.
Strong.
Yeah, 48's mental.
I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll bring up some Southampton managerial statistics.
That's a good idea.
So we can get a kind of like a a bit of a comparison.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably be looking at someone like Alan Ball. Obviously, some of the better days, the glory days.
Should we carry on with that? English stats here? We got up from the second division to the German equivalent of the Premier League. 95 games there, 37.89%. So roughly about 38% again. And then with Red Bull Leipzig, 48% win ratio. That's nearly half his games. Yeah. And that's not just from a small selection of games. That's 83 games.
Yeah, so I was blown away by that stat earlier. And I think where the style that Southampton played when we first came up to the Premier League was press, progressive, let's do this. Hell, every scene that's ever come up since then, they've nicked our idea. Well, not our idea, and he's doing the same. He implements the same style, the press, the high energy, but obviously then comes with the defensive problems as well.
So, for a bit of comparison, Mark Hughes, 18.52% win ratio.
Wowzers.
Mauricio Pellegrino, 23.5%.
Yeah.
Which is not great. Let's pick out some other bad ones from the past.
You should be able to do this off the top of your head.
Yeah, well, Mark Watt, Jan Portlevet, 22 and 25% respectively.
God.
Nigel Pearson, 21%.
So hang on, Hughes is the worst. Good God.
Yeah, well, the only one Hughes is worse, is better than in recent history is Dean Wilkins, who had 3 games and 3 losses.
Oh, bless him.
And when John Gorman and Jason Dodd were temporarily managers, 6 games, only won 1. So there's 16. But out of a manager that's actually had any sort of time, Mark Hughes is the worst since Steve Wigley. And Steve Wigley only got 17 games to get his 17.6%.
I remember him quite well. But no, the thing is there that maybe Hughes would have turned the boat around, but probably would have been at the expense of turning it around when we're in League One.
Yeah.
And then he would have got his 48% playing, Brentford.
Well, kind of like Alan Pardew got his 53% in League One.
Right, exactly.
Which was great. Obviously Nigel Adkins achieved 54%, which was enough to get us double promotion. Wonderful, wonderful times. But only if we want to compare Ralp Hasenhuttls.
Well done, mate.
Yeah,
good.
Ralp Hasenhuttls statistics. Then I suppose some comparative ones here. Pochettino was a 38% win ratio for Southampton. Ronald Koeman was 48%, and Claude Puel was 37%.
Yeah.
So if Ralph manages a win ratio equivalent to his worst ever managerial performance, then we'll be talking about 37.8%, which is
8th.
More or less the same as Claude Puel. So that's cup runs, top half of the table,
happier days, basically. And also, it does, when you're reeling those stats out to me, it does make me realise. I think as Saints supporters, it is quite it's keenly obvious that we need to realise how damn lucky we are when we've got something. So, for example, Puel, Whispering Claude was a bit of a, negative-y, it wasn't exactly all guns blazing football, but look where we finished and look what we did. And then look what happened afterwards. And we have to think from this moment on, whoever is appointed, and to be frank, I hope it is this guy. I hope it is the big R, Big Ralph. Ralphie man.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got what it takes. You see, he's got 2 promotions. He's done really well in the Bundesliga. And Bundesliga's a bloody good... it's a damn good league. Hello to the Bundesliga Diary. Great podcast, by the way.
For people who want to know a bit more about German football, that's the place to head, is it?
Well, Bundesliga Diaries is an amazing podcast. It's a lot like ours, a bit more round table, a few more voices, but it's really good. And funnily, that's where I found out that our Leipzig's director of football moved on from Saints to there. And I didn't know that
via Spurs. Yeah,
and I didn't.
Mitchell.
Yeah, and so I think he might be coming back.
So this is an interesting kind of combo, because there's been a lot of rumours about Paul Mitchell potentially coming back to Southampton in a director or head of football sort of role.
Yeah,
and nothing's happened just yet. But if maybe they've got some sort of agreement with him, or he's doing a bit of consultancy, then Big Ralph, as we'll now call him, to avoid me cocking up the pronunciation again. Then that would be a nice little tidy package. The two have worked together before very, very successfully at Red Bull Leipzig.
Yeah.
So do you think we're going to see a Paul Mitchell, director of football, head of football,
Big
Ralph as
you just
as
want
the manager,
all
as
you
the
want.
coach?
Well, all you want is continuity. That's all you ever ask for in football. Footballers thrive on continuity, simplicity. oh God, I don't want to be nasty, but they're not the most intelligent of people.
Not all of them. There are
not
a few
all of
bright
them. There are shining stars.
Yeah.
But
I'm also not the brightest.
Hasenhuttl. But I think that's all we crave is continuity, and I think a duo that understand each other, that can literally hit the ground running and understand where Southampton have come from, because we were a Leipzig. We were a team that came up with ambition, and we bloody well achieved that ambition. You know, for example, for us, for Leipzig finishing second in the Bundesliga is equivalent to us finishing where we finished, sixth or seventh in the Premier League. So I think we found the right, hopefully, if he's anointed,
touch wood. I mean,
I think we found the right guy.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, obviously, the typical thing that would happen is after this conversation, we'll then go and find that Southampton have appointed Big Sam.
There's a gun going off in my head. Oh God! No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
I mean, like we'll talk about the tactics a little bit later with our German football expert. But I mean, for those reading around the subject, for the Wikipedia, research and the Googling that all of the Saints fans have no doubt been doing today, as his name has appeared suddenly very much front and centre in the frame. Yeah. Is that he does like a pressing, attacking style.
Yeah, absolutely.
His teams are known for looking like they're dedicated on the pitch, like they're working hard. And, to be honest, sometimes as a fan, like that is the most important thing that you want to see. You want to see the players that you've paid your hard-earned cash to go and watch to be putting in the sort of effort that you would put in if you were young, fit, athletic, and talented.
And which some players have and haven't been doing at Saints. And I think a new man is going to come in. He's going to look at he's going to know. Yeah, he's probably got. I mean, let's be honest. He's come out of nowhere as a bookie's favourite. So he's probably been tapped up. He's probably known that there's something like this is coming, and he's gonna know who those players are. Yeah. And I think we'll get an immediate response, and we'll probably beat Cardiff 17-0. But I think the press is the most important factor of all this, because that is something that Saints fans will be so eager to see again at St Mary's, but not with a stupid high line where we get undone every time, not with a naive attitude. And Leipzig they've had that 4 or 5 seasons in a row now. Yeah. Hasenhuttl wasn't the first to implement it there. His predecessor was, but he kept it going. And look at Leipzig now. Yeah. They are romping it up the league because they've managed to keep that implemented, that mindset. And when you see them press, it's unbelievable. It's 9 players up in the final third, like pressing like you wouldn't believe, and winning it and scoring goals. If you can take that to Southampton, oh my God, we've got Højbjerg, for Christ's sake. He could press 17 players all on his own.
I think of firing Højbjerg, firing Lamina, Redmond with a bit of direction, arm around the shoulder. Redmond is so desperate to impress at the moment, and I think with the kind of coaching that a coach that is genuinely interested in his progression, I think we could actually see a lot more from Redmond.
He will be. I tell you right now, he will be our new signing. He was Redmond felt like a new signing at the beginning of this season. When a new manager comes in, and if he's got anything about him, he will reinvigorate him even more than he is now.
And Stuart Armstrong just behind the front one.
Are we going to win the Premier League? Yeah. Oh my God, we're going to win the Premier League, John! I can't believe this.
Let's not get carried away. So I mean, obviously we're both very keen, excited about Ralph. I think if we get that big Ralph Paul Mitchell package, that is a nod to the Southampton, who had been so good in recent seasons, with the Pochettino, with the Adkins, with the Koeman attitude, to the whole way that they ran the club. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm feeling so excited about it. Yeah, is because you look at it and it feels like the Southampton way, as the brand name for it, hasn't been totally lost, despite what Ralph Krieger's been saying in the press. And so fingers crossed. That was the
common line, wasn't it? That we'd lost our way, and I think that's it's fine. You can say that we did. We completely lost our way on just looking at the appointments and players, and hopefully, God willing, is it going to be the last major mistake we make? Appointment? Let's just hope so.
Let's hope so. Touch wood. So anyway. Wednesday night.
Oh, right, yeah.
Saints are coming to London, off to Wembley, to play Tottenham Hotspur, who have been in some scintillating form, having beaten Chelsea and Inter Milan, but then missed out in the North London derby against Arsenal. Yeah. Losing 4-2.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen that yet.
Are they going to be fired up with anger on Wednesday looking for a revenge?
John, so previously, the podcast I've listened to previously, either, whatever Saints podcast it is, am I allowed to promote other Saints podcasts on this one? It's a bit naughty, isn't it? I won't. But
you can give them a nice shout out. I don't mind.
Well, I love, they're brilliant, delivering totally Saints, Total Saints podcast. But I think that we all kind of thought we were going to get destroyed by Tottenham. Yeah. And I don't think much has changed. I think the only thing that will change will be Kelvin Davis. Yeah. And he is a wonderful motivator. Yeah. He was part of that back five, as it were. That's such a solid defence, and various managers were able to implement their vision through him at the back. And I think maybe we won't get smashed quite so heavily now, but I still think we're going to get reasonably mauled. Yeah.
I mean, how many hat-tricks do you think Harry Kane might get?
Maybe 7, Seven, yeah. That's 21 goals. So, I mean, 25-0 maybe. Okay. I mean, but that's not too bad, I mean, previous years I was thinking 37-0. Yeah. So, and that's a terrible number. That's humiliating. But 25 is okay.
So, all jokes aside...
Okay, sorry, I'm messing around.
I don't think we're necessarily going to beat Tottenham... I genuinely don't think we're going to beat Tottenham Hotspur. Although strange things can happen in football.
Yeah. You never know.
And, I think Kelvin Davis, he said in his press conference today that really he wanted to get the players focused on playing for the badge and show that same dedication to the club that he did. Yeah. And if they can do that for a full 90 minutes, then, hopefully they can get through the game without humiliating themselves.
I think that's all we're after. Yeah. I think, a 0-0 would be wonderful. It's not going to happen. I mean, maybe another 2-2, something to give us hope, or just that we made the right decision sacking Hughes, basically.
If we get a draw at Wembley on Wednesday, I think that's a big result. That'd be hugely positive. Yeah. New guy in before the away match at Cardiff, which is so important, and hopefully new manager bounce, and we can beat Warnock's Cardiff City.
Warnock's Cardiff City. You say that with a bit of zealousy. I don't know. I kind of like Warnock, but I don't like him. Obviously, at the same time, one of my best mates, Warnock came on to his mum once at a fish and chip shop. But that's for another day. But yeah, I know we're running out of time, but I do think Tottenham match, we can definitely 100% put that to one side. Yeah. No, I don't think any Saints fan in their right mind should be thinking, other than just a fun little kick around for Saints, because come on, you know, we haven't got the new guy in. And by the way, whoever comes in, we have to be patient with, super patient, because he's not just being dropped in to a mid-table scrap from maybe Europa League. It's a relegation battle, which, by the way, Hughes did miracles keeping us up, because this time last season we were all, my God, we're doomed. Yeah. So whoever's coming in, this isn't just, this is a big deal. This is relegation and all the crap that goes with it,
By the sounds of things,
Albert's
my
back.
Little boy is back. So I think that's probably a good point to wrap up this part of the podcast.
Okay.
Not too hopeful for Wednesday. Hopeful for a big result next weekend, hopefully with a new manager in place and someone that we can all get behind. Thank you very much, William Porteous Blythe, for joining us, the Pirate Gardener.
My pleasure. Yeah.
If people want your pirate gardening services, where can they find you?
I can't be bothered. I think you just find me on Twitter.
The Limehouse Pod.
It's just Limehouse Pod. Yeah.
Limehouse Pod.
And you can find me on Ugly Inside, where I do lots of blogging as well.
Ranty blogging.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much, William. If you want to get in touch with the podcast, saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com or at saintsfcpod on Twitter. Obviously, we're going to speak to Raphael Honigstein in a few moments, so stick around for that. Albert, do you want to come and say hello to my listeners? Just come and say hello into this red thing here.
Hello.
That's my little boy, and right, over to Raphael. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am very privileged to have Raphael Honigstein on the telephone to chat Ralp Hasenhuttl with me. Raphael Honigstein, he's a German journalist, author, broadcaster. Podcasting fans will recognise his voice from the Totally Football Show. You may have also heard him on BBC 5 Live, seen him on BT Sport or Sky Sports, or read his articles in The Guardian or The Blizzard
United, amongst other things. You may have even read one of his fantastic books about English football from the German perspective, or about German football. Probably not, if you're a Saints fan, read his book about Jurgen Klopp yet, though. But we've probably given that one a miss, Raphael, so far. Apologies on that. But the rest of it all sounds very, very interesting, and sounds like you're probably the right sort of person we should be speaking to today, when Ralp Hasenhuttl has suddenly appeared out of nowhere, if you're a Saints fan, really, to the top of the managerial favourite charts after Mark Hughes was sacked this morning. So, Rafa, welcome onto the show. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us about Ralph?
Thank you for having me. Well, what can I say about Ralph? Has been very highly rated ever since taking Ingolstadt to the first Bundesliga in his what was only his second station as a manager. A club that had never been to Bundesliga before, and then managed to almost repeat the miracle by staying up, which was his personal Leipzig job, where at the very first year in the Bundesliga, he finished second behind Bayern and qualified for the Champions League the first. So it was a hugely successful 3 years for him. It didn't go quite as well last season. I think Hasenhuttl wanted to play a slightly more expensive style, wanted to play a bit more football rather than concentrate on pressing, transition. And I found it was initially quite happy to support him, but I think then kind of lost patience with him when the results weren't going their way, and then they passed it. Never since then, Hasenhuttl was just waiting for the right offer to come along, and it looks as if we might see him on the South Coast very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard anything at all yourself? Because I had my kind of in the know, I'm doing kind of like inverted commas, source say that, but I wonder if you've had any kind of in the know from the German perspective of side of things that say that this looks like it is going to be a done deal.
No, I must admit I wasn't across the story today. I haven't really followed it up. I was busy with some other stuff. What I would say is, reading between the lines of some of the stuff my colleagues wrote, it seems to be very, very well sourced, very strong. Some are saying that he'll be in place by the next game, by the weekend game, I should say. So it sounds very, very real, and it sounds very probable. It's interesting because he has been not so long mentioned as someone who might take over at Dortmund, who might take over at Bayern. So on the face of it, I think from a German point of view, it seems almost like a bit of a step down. And I say that, of course, with all due respect to Southampton. But I think it shows that perhaps his standing has suffered a little bit over the last 6 months or so. He was really on a high, and if you remember, was linked with the Arsenal job.
Yeah.
When he had that fantastic first season with Leipzig, and was seen as one of the sort of new up-and-coming managers. But I don't think that is actually a problem, because you only have to think about this guy called Mauricio Pochettino to realize that a guy who might not be sort of the hot stuff right now doesn't necessarily mean that his work, his underlying work, isn't very good. And I think Southampton would have looked very, very closely at the work he's done, and I think they would have surmised or deduced that he's been able to get a lot out of very limited teams. So if you're looking for someone who's going to immediately improve the team, who's going to introduce a very recognizable style, who's going to make the team very tough to beat again, give them cohesion, give them an identity, all these things, I think he ticks the boxes. So I personally think he'd be really a brilliant appointment.
Okay, well that all sounds good. And I suppose, you've mentioned Pochettino there, and when the Southampton scouts first came across Pochettino, I think they were looking to buy Philippe Coutinho at the time, who was playing for Espanyol under Pochettino, and then decided on him. Is it his style of football that you think is perhaps attracting the attention of Southampton? Is it from what I've read, he likes pressing, he likes attacking, he likes high energy football, which I suppose elements of that you can say are similar to what Pochettino did at Southampton and then has followed up doing at Tottenham Hotspur as well.
Yeah, undoubtedly, I think that is the main selling point here. I think if you're looking to just really whip the team into shape, that is, to me, from the outside looking in, devoid of direction, devoid of any sense of cohesion, playing a very indistinguishable football, which is very difficult to say what is it they're actually trying to do. To go to a real strong sense of strategy, strong sense of this is what we're trying. The one caveat or the question mark is, how much of that was his, how much of that was sort of the blueprint that he followed at Leipzig, which had set almost independently of him. I think Leipzig, Ingolstadt, he played that way, and then I think he wanted to change. So we don't know sort of what is true. We might not necessarily know sort of what his idea is in 2018, 2019. My guess is, though, that Southampton have looked around them and have seen that some of the poor teams in the league, or some of the teams struggling, shall we say, are improving, and all, or at least some of them, have a system that kind of helps quite a lot with very little. I think Huddersfield being the prime example. So I think that this is the idea here. The idea is to say, we're not going to get now a manager who's going to ask for 6 or 7 new signings, or who's going to try and play his way out of the bottom with a team that's obviously very low on confidence and perhaps low on real football and quality. So get a guy in with a strong system, which makes us awkward, makes us tough to beat, gives us energy, gives us a sense of purpose, and I think he's shown that he can definitely do that.
Yeah, I think all of that makes sense, and it'll probably be kind of music to the Saints fans' ears. If he does get the job, what sort of formation do you think he'll be playing, and what sort of players would he be excited to work with? I mean, the high energy pressing doesn't sound like that would be particularly well suited to Charlie Austin, but perhaps there'll be some other players in the squad that he might be more excited about working with.
Yeah, I think, that is a good point. I think he'll have to look very carefully at the squad and make sure that, A, what he's asking them can actually be achieved with the players he has. But I think it will become very quickly apparent that those who cannot play that way will find it very, very difficult to survive. At Leipzig, they only bought young players. They only bought fast players. At Ingolstadt, they only had hard-working players. So that seems to be his style. That seems to be his way of doing things. He might have used sort of the last 6 months of not working to broaden his horizon. Maybe I'll come up with new ideas, but my hunch is that he's going to go with what he knows best, which is to make a team defensively very, very strong. And to put this into context, this is really Ingolstadt. Yes, they had a little bit of money with a bit of backing, but then to stay up in the league was really remarkable. We are talking sort of Huddersfield kind of territory. Yeah. Very small budget, individually not really gifted players. So in a way, Southampton, he has a lot to work with, and be much closer to what he has at Leipzig, where he had a really great team. Formation, I don't think it's such an issue. It's often been a 4-3-3, which then becomes a 4-4-2 without the ball. You can play a 4-5-1. In the last season at Leipzig, they experimented a bit with different formations with limited success, I would say, on the whole. But I wouldn't put that down necessarily to formation, but simply to maybe the team being a little bit tired and just needing something a little bit different. And what he tried to do didn't quite sit right with Ralf Rangnick and maybe one or two players. So it's I think it's less to do with a specific formation or a very specific way of playing, but rather saying when we don't have the ball, we want to make it really, really tough for the opposition, and we want to win the ball back in areas where we can be really, really dangerous. And they will try to do that. It's no longer, I think, a novel tactic in the Premier League. It no longer will perhaps have the devastating impact that it had when Pochettino really introduced, as the first manager in the Premier League, that kind of high systematic pressing. But it can still, and I think, again, I have to reference Huddersfield here, it can still make a big difference and ensure that a team that is perhaps not that comfortable on the ball for whatever reason can drag one or two other teams down to their level and then beat them. And I think if you're in a relegation dogfight, just to play that aggressive style, that kind of proactive style, will make it easier for the players and also, I think, get the crowd going.
Okay, I think that's probably two things that we definitely need at Southampton at the moment. And St Mary's is just a cauldron of trepidation and anxiety at the moment, rather than fierce enthusiasm for the players. So I mean, you've said quite a lot of interesting things. They're picking up on the 4-3-3 kind of formation, which is the formation that Saints play throughout all of their youth sides on the kind of that pathway that they have up to the first team. And I suppose hopefully there'll be some decent young players for him to work with. And Pochettino certainly seems to get a lot out of our younger players as well. But I guess kind of one of the question is when his record really stands out as being particularly impressive, the fact that he's been linked with clubs that are much bigger than Southampton. Why Southampton? Is it something that he's seen about? I mean, why come into a relegation dogfight where it hasn't been pretty there? The team is low on confidence. The club doesn't seem to be particularly willing to spend much money and transfers. But is it all about building up his reputation and then going on to something bigger and better in a couple of years?
Yeah, I think that every manager wants to be in a job, and I think maybe there has come a point for him where he felt, okay, I missed out on Dortmund, I missed out on Bayern, Schalke seem to be reasonably happy. Maybe the Leverkusen job would have opened up, but they haven't made up their mind yet. So I'd rather get a firm offer from a team that was a mainstay in the top half of the Premier League, very, very close to the Champions League places in some of those seasons, and see if I can get them back up to that level, rather than just waiting for a so-called bigger offer which might never materialize. And I think he'd be hugely attracted to this challenge. I think also the fact that, Mauricio Pochettino went from Saints to Spurs and now is a manager that could probably get any job in the world, would have told him that, if you have success, if you get noticed in the Premier League, then you're on the radar. And I can only assume that the talks he's had have convinced him that Southampton have a lot of upside, are in somewhat of a fourth position, and with a bit of TLC and a bit of proper coaching can immediately improve. And, the good news is that Southampton, I think, despite their struggles, are by no means doomed when you look at the table and the points. There are a lot of teams of a similar level around them, behind them, teams that I think in squad size and in squad ability, squad quality, you'd probably rank behind Saints. So I think he'll see a lot of opportunities there, and I think he'll see it as a real chance to have an impact, to do really well, and then really go for a season with maybe a bit of budget and a bit of a transfer policy behind him that maybe brings one or two of the players that he wants. And I'm not surprised at all that he'd be attracted to that kind of job.
Okay, brilliant. Raphael, I've got a couple of things to ask you before we check out. So if you're a Southampton fan and you haven't read any of Raphael Honigstein's books before, where should we start? Which one should we add to our Christmas list as our wives, girlfriends, husbands, children, etc. are asking us what we want for Christmas?
Well, I mean, if you're not interested in football at all, or if you're only interested in Southampton, then I might recommend a children's book that I wrote.
Okay.
On famous treasures that have been found or are yet to be found, ranking from old bank robbery loot to the Jules Rimet Trophy, pirate ships, El Dorado, mythical treasures, and real. I can recommend that very highly. It's called The Big Book of Treasures.
The Big Book of Treasures. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah. And it's an illustrated book, easy to read, I'd say from sort of 8 to 12. If
Fantastic.
you are, if it has to be a football book and it has to be for grown-ups, then, and it's not Klopp, I would say the Dust Reboot. So it's a book with just enough universal I think, resonance for anyone who wants to see how a football team that really was down and out and felt that they had no future and were really behind the curve, learn the lessons, righted the wrongs, and got going again. So it could be quite topical for Southampton fans.
Yeah. It sounds like the kind of book that we might want to read just as a kind of hopeful fairy tale, I think. And then the other thing, so I've been told by a couple of friends that you're well into your music, so we want a musical recommendation from you as well. It could be anything. What have you been listening to recently that has got you excited?
It's been mostly really old stuff, so nothing that new and interesting.
Okay, well, let's go for something old and brilliant.
If you haven't got any, if you haven't got any Parliament records, then I think something like the Mothership Connection or the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein are a very, very necessary introduction to P-Funk. P stands for the pure funk. The whole West Coast hip hop is built on these tracks, but the originals are well worth checking out.
Yeah, I can absolutely second that. My wife got me the Mothership Connection for a recent birthday of mine, so it's a very regular feature on the record player. But yeah, anything with George Clinton involved is normally lots of good fun.
Brilliant, great. You've got very good taste. Well, your wife has.
Yeah, we watched Parliament at Festival, probably the year. I think we met at Festival in 2008, and I think he was on stage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a symbolic.
Was it one of those 4-hour sessions?
It wasn't quite 4 hours. I think they kept it to a kind of like nice hour and a half. But yeah, they had all of the aliens and nappies and all sorts of stuff going on. It was great.
Yeah. That's cool.
All right, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Raphael,
right.
for joining us. It's
My pleasure.